All right, thank you all. Greetings, peaceful greetings for this week. We're going to get right into it. So we decided to go right into part two from last week. We talked about secured line of credit. So we're going to get right into secured line of credit again this week. But thank you all for continuing on these studies. Every week we talk about revocable living trust. We talk about how to get all your different documents in order and how to utilize these different documents throughout the digital world that we have all entered into. So I'll be going through multiple examples of how you all can do these types of actions in real time and how you can utilize most of your documents that you already have, such as your social security card, your driver's license, your birth certificates, pretty much all the documents that we've had our whole life, but we had no idea what to do with them. I'm going to show you all how to use those documents today, every single one of them, and how they all just pretty much are conglomerated under something simply called a revocable living trust. Now, the reason why it's already under a revocable living trust is because when you were a baby, you were the grantor. And by being the grantor, your print caused these documents to have power. So your print, when you were a baby, caused the documents or everything that you know to actually have the power. By you knowing that you're the grantor, this automatically places you in the first position of holding pretty much every one of those, which they call today a trust. So I'll be going into how you are the holder in due course of all the things that you say that you are, because if you prove that you are who you are, then you are the one that holds all the property. Now, the reason we do this with the revocable living trust is because the instrument writes out everything for you, and it's pretty simple to go through once you understand, and overstand how to utilize the document. And I'll be going through how you want to use this document as a financial instrument, as a financial tool, and become a bank. Now, out of all this information, I only talk about the revocable living trust for free through our calls that are on YouTube and that are here online. Once you get into the banking world, which we call private banking, once you get into the private banking world, this is a whole nother ball game. This isn't the same game that you all are utilizing with getting your bills paid, getting money back from the treasury, getting things such as, which we say, um, money or credit or anything of that sort. Once you get into the private banking side, you actually are the money. You are learning how to create multiple streams of income. So once you become a private banker, you start off as a private bank, a private banker, and as well as a private broker. You'll be able to get a private broker status as well. Now, you can't get a private broker status if you have not utilized the first steps, which is opening up your bank. Now, we always go through the revocable trust course. So by the time you finish our course, most of the people should have got to the point where you have the introduction to private banking. And this is more than just documents. So we know people say they have the assumed name. Yes, that is part of the private banking. So with your assumed name, you're going to open up a private bank. That's what that means. So a assumed name is designed to open up a private bank. It is not just there to say your age of majority and you have become age of majority. It's pretty much a given statement. We know that you're age of majority or you are an adult once they give you an adult identification card, right? So once you have that, you don't have to make it redundantly known that you are age of majority. What it is that you're supposed to now move forward and open up a bank. So that's the whole point of having the assumed name, as well as looking at this from the side of being a private banker. Now, I'm just going to go over everything that deals with the most basic parts that most people are still learning, that are going to start releasing a lot of information that one may have paid thousands of dollars for, or maybe tens of thousands of dollars for, right? We're going to start releasing and showing how this looks, how the instruments are supposed to look and how they're supposed to work, which we say they're securities that are supposed to receive cash. Now, when we're not actually getting um, which we say results, is because what we found out from the past is that once you all have filed your tax returns. This is going to be the main level that gets you to be able to create, which they call the financial instruments. So I'm going to go through diagrams and show through all this information today to give us an idea of how the revocable trust has worked out for me and has worked out for some people who have been able to utilize the instrument, which we're going to call today the trust instrument. Now, the whole point of this trust instrument is to update or convert my personal accounts, my W-2s, 1099s, and other income. We're going to call it other income. Now, the minute that you're able to convert all this income, doesn't matter what job you have. You could work for the federal government, right? So that's the highest level. It doesn't matter. You can work for the federal government. You can work for the state. You can work for the county, right? You can work for big time corporations. You can work for whoever, right? You can have stocks. You can have retirement accounts, right? So we're hitting around all the stuff that everybody says that you may not be able to have anymore, but you can still keep your retirement accounts. You can keep your disability benefits. You can keep your food benefits. You can keep pretty much it actually enhances it. It actually gives you more benefits by having this revocable trust instrument. Because I myself, I've actually learned and discovered that I actually do qualify for benefits that I didn't know I qualified for. Right. So that'll get into a whole nother thing where we'll get into how once you get into your understanding of using the trust instrument, you'll be able to see this as a benefit. So let's get right back into how the trust instrument, and I'll go to the screens to show on the screen, how the trust instrument is supposed to be working out for us. How do we use this trust instrument? So I started off, let me go back through our course. So what we're talking about the course. So what we give is something called an all course strategy plan. The goal is to get you to go through all three courses at one time, because once you go through all three courses, you'll pretty much be ready to go for what they call the world. Right. It's just like any other university, they get you set, they get you through their curriculum, through their courses, through their training. And once you've gone through all this training, you're supposed to be able to manage yourself, right? So this is the financial management aspect that we teach. We teach the financial education, financial literacy, as we have explained that the IRS or the Treasury or the Department of Treasury has approved university technicians to be able to do this. So the reason we do this way is because it's more easier for us to explain it on a more basic level of getting you the basic training you need to get started. So what we've done is we've broke it down through digital walkthroughs of all your required documents, and it's all digital. This is what keeps it so transparent because everything we show has to be digital. I'm going to show you all the forms, all the accounts that you're going to have to open up, the refunds that you're supposed to get, that you all are still not getting your refunds and you're trying to figure out where to get this money from. Well, you get the money from your refunds. All right, so if you have the refunds, you can then pay for the services, and then now we can start helping you build your credit, which we're going to get into that today. We're going to start talking about how you all have not been using your refunds on the business side. So the overpayments are going to come on the trust side. So we learned that the trust doesn't give out refunds, right? The trust gives out overpayments. And I had to learn this. I actually messed up a few trust things that I'll get into my mistakes that I made on using the trust as well for the overpayments. And the digital online pay updates. So all your updates are digitally done online. This doesn't matter if it's your county, doesn't matter if it's the state, doesn't matter if it's the government. It could be the IRS, it could be everything. Right? We want you to be able to access all that information online. So we go through the revocable living trust course, which we're going to stick with today, and explain how this looks, where you got your revocable trust EIN printout from the IRS. That has to be specifically done an exact way, which we've explained. We go through walkthroughs. Got your revocable trust executed on the county record. Okay, so it means it's executed. It looks like how we showed that our trust record looks. Got your e-file revocable trust EIN, which is your 1041. This activates your trust. So until you have the 1041 filed for the revocable trust, the revocable trust is not activated in their world yet. Right. So once you want to start doing finances, you got to have the 1041 in order to start doing finances. Next, you're going to have your e-file revocable trust social, right? So your social instantly turns into a revocable trust social. That means you're going to be filing the 1040 as well. But it's still a revocable trust. It's still the 1040 side. And that goes right into where we're going to talk about how you all are supposed to be obtaining treasury checks through the 1040 and the 1041. Right, so if you all haven't obtained treasury checks, then we're going into this continual spiral of trying to go get credit and get more loans from other companies, right? Because this is the only other route if you don't have a treasury check. And which will say that the other route is to build wealth and to learn how to sell a product or a service. But we have to get to this point first before you can learn how to have a product or a service to offer. Once you do that, you're going to move all your tangible assets to the revocable trust. Now, this is something that can be pending. So we're going to say today that even if y'all haven't got a treasury check, you still should have been able to use your tax returns to get a line of credit as well, right? So there's no reason that the tax returns can't be used as well because those are your financial instruments. You're going to move all your tangible assets to a revocable trust. Now, until you do this and you keep a little bit of stuff out and some things in, that's the problem. So everything has to be put all in. Move all your tangible assets to the revocable trust. Now, some of us may move some of our tangible assets to irrevocable trust, which is fine. Just make sure you move everything and it's not showing up on your name, right? So if you even got the irrevocable trust, which we've already explained that the trust others are irrevocable trusts as well, but they're like living irrevocable trusts. Right, so that's a whole nother topic. I'm not getting into irrevocable because it's a rabbit hole for a lot of people. Some people just started off and they jumped you right into irrevocable. They didn't tell you about the revocable side. Right, so this is what captures everything, everything that's in your name. Next, you're going to move all the bills. Everything that you got that comes in your name is a bill. All your bills. Then you got to move all your debts. Let's say you got some debts you owe to the court. You got to get the court debt out of your name. Court debt. Court debt, so that's debt. Credit card debts, which we say that goes into the 1099-C. So the 1099-C, all this stuff has to be canceled out, your name. You move all your expenses out of the social. So all these are just all parts of revocable trust, what you're doing through the revocable trust course the entire time. So I went over that just to kind of show this is what you're trying to do continually all the time until you get these treasury checks. Because this is where all the funds are coming from. They're coming from your treasury checks. All right, so I showed you all how this looks for my digital folder. And I had to go through those steps too, so it's not just, hey, I'm out here creating it and I can't do it myself. I have to also go through the same steps. So I did. And when I did this, I created the trust. I created the new name for my trust and I got myself in the position as grantor, which I went over throughout all our weeks. But I wanted to get to the nitty gritty today. And I wanted to get straight to the UCC because this is where the banking side is. This is where you all have been trying to get to the bank. So I've been explaining that this is the private bank. So once I have discovered how to become a private bank, then I also have to become a private banker. So I open up the bank. Now I'm the banker. So I got to do banker things, right? So I filed a UCC. And some of the times you may have to hire an attorney because bankers have attorneys, believe it or not. So when you go to the bank, believe it or not, the bankers, they have a legal department that they call it their legal department or their attorney department, whatever you want to call this. So this is why the power of attorney course is so important for you. See, me, I have my power of attorney course and I have multiple powers of attorney, people I can call on to get things reviewed and things of that sort. These are the things that you're going to have to do too to make sure your financial instruments are good to go. So as you can see, I have a UCC filing number, and this is going to get me right to my UCC where I'm at with my secure filing. So let's go to the secure filing for a second. Here we go. Now you're banking, right? So if you're not on the secured transaction registry, then your trust isn't activated to do secured transactions either. This is why you're not getting access to the line of credit. So I'm showing you all this is how this is supposed to go when you're seeing this as a bank. You know, the money, where's the money coming from? The money's coming once again from your bank. So once you got your UCC search, we already understood that this is part of your bankers association. If you all went on my calls in the past, we found out that every state has a UCC, and every state, this is part of your bankers association. So you got to go through your bankers association. This is your bankers association, the UCC of your state. So what we done is we made ourselves the secure party. And the way we did this is because of our revocable living trust. Now, I'm not asking people to just do this randomly, like because you're seeing me do it, because you may miss steps or you may try to do it for a way that you think. And I'm just explaining and showing you how far I've went over the years and the results that I have been able to get so far. All right, so this is just more of a presentation. This isn't say, hey, let me go ahead and try to hurry up and do this real quick. I see Brother Wallace, he did his UCC. Let me try to do it like he did it. All right, so just be careful with seeing it that way. I just want to use this as more of an example as we do these studies or these presentations or these calls. All right, so I see that this one right here says I got to go to document number. There we go. So, okay, so here in my state, this is what it tells me that I have so far for my number. All right, so it shows that my filing was on in 2020. So this filing has stood all the way through 2020. You see it's about to expire this year. And I have been able to utilize this UCC on a basic level for myself. Now, for whatever way I've done this, this has worked out for me on uh, countless levels with me being able to utilize my financial instrument as being the secured party. So as you can see, I am the secured party as well as the revocable trust. So this gets right into your financial side of the trust as well. And the financial side are always going to be on the revocable trust side. Who have become the debtors? As you all remember, we talked about how the United States is the debtor, right? So if the United States says they're the debtor, then you're supposed to list whoever says that they're the debtor. So what I did, I listed the state that I was in along with the name that they had on the driver's license, the social security card, and the birth certificate. Right. So wherever it came from, whatever the address is, this is where it started. Right. So that's the first identification I've ever seen was usually the identification card. And we talked about the tax collector, all these different places. So who is the originator of that? Well, it says his property is owned by who? It says the state of Florida. So if you all are not seeing these things, go and look in the back of your cards, look at your documents. But I've been able to discover and break it all the way down for you. Does not do all this work, and it's your ID, right? So just utilize the ID, know who is the property owner, know the names that are on there, and the derivatives, and this is how it looks for that. Next, I was able to go as far just for those to see and ask, well, Brother Wallace, what do you know about the CUSIP? Did you ever hear of the CUSIP number, Brother Wallace? Yes, I have heard of the CUSIPs. Yes, absolutely. And our team that we had coming in 2020, shout out to our brethren that's out there. We had a brother Vince. He was in the team with us, brother Vince. Um, other people that were out on the team, we were looking into these um, knowledges, and we found that CUSIPs actually do exist, and they are connected to your name, connected to your birth certificate, to your driver's license, to your social security cards, and so on. And there's multiple CUSIPs, so you will never capture all your CUSIPs. There's so many CUSIPs. So the fact is, just capture maybe one or two of your CUSIPs, and I was able to break it down to the CUSIPs of your court cases. So if you ever wanted to get a CUSIP, you always think of your court case, right? So whatever case that is, that court case, that will give you the ultimate um, access point to which we say trading or collateral. So as you can see, I've done my debtors. The debtors that I placed on there were the CUSIP debtors, as well as the state, because this is where it's all started from. And so I keep it simple, and then I move forward. Now I have everything I need for the revocable trust. Everything is funded because they say to fund the trust, move it out of my name, right? And I also did a UCC 3. I think that was filing date. That was this filing date, um, which will be closing out soon. But this is me showing you all that I have the UCC up and running, and it is still showing that it's still active. Just to be able to prove these next screens that I'll be able to show and how you're all supposed to do the same thing that I'm doing when you are saying that you're going to access your line of credit. All right, so this goes right back to my digital folder I was telling you about, that you want to have this official record first. So don't try to jump to the UCC, because the way my official record is shown is I have used the official record that is then placed on the UCC. So for those who just jump to the UCC, we actually have a specific way that we have placed it on the UCC. So I'll close from this part right here. Now I'm going to go to the, now I'm going to wait for this. Let me jump straight to this part right here. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay, so let's jump into what the UCC, what does this mean? Once I have the UCC, or I have the instrument on there. So you see the UCC code is 9-312. So this will be Uniform Commercial Code 9-312. And this is the perfection of security interest and chattel paper. This is what they do with the paper when they get a writ of attachment. That's what they call those in their background language. Writs, WRITS. So their interest in the chattel paper, the deposit accounts. Look at that. Remember I told you about add up all those deposits? Remember those deposit accounts? Hmm. Next, you have your documents. Remember we was talking about the documents. So all your documents, we say you have that digital folder. Make sure you have a list of all your documents accessed. And Trump is making this real. It's almost like it's word for word. Interesting. Same stuff we've been saying 4 years prior to all this stuff. And all of a sudden now all these documents are seeming to be very, very valuable and important. So we're saying they need to be in hand. You need to have the social security card in your hand. Where's your social card? Where's your ID card? Right? Where's your birth certificate? Where is it at? Don't have it just sitting in some folder. You got to go look through folders and stuff. We're saying documents. Make sure you have access to them. You got your goods, which we talked about, your goods covered by the documents. That's all your furniture and all your property. And that's your collateral. So those are goods covered by documents. But we did it as a more conglomerate. And we tell people to use the instruments. So these are the instruments. That's why we talk about the instrument. The instrument is the revocable living trust instrument. And the instrument is written a certain way so that you can have access to all the rights, all the title, all the interests that the revocable living trust is giving you. Investment property, letter of credit rights, and what? Money. Look at that. So I got access to all the money, every money that comes in and out, right? It doesn't matter where it came from, no matter where and how it happened. If it happened through the name, this is it, right? So money. And you can even see the letter of credit rights, because I always ask people sometimes, you always talk about the mortgages, but you all never tell me where is the approval letter, right? Where is the approval letter? See, they're going to put the mortgage on the county record. That's right. They're going to take the mortgage agreement that you signed and place it on the county record. And when they do that, it does say that you promised to pay. So this is where this is coming from. It's not about the mortgage is fraud. The mortgage ain't fraud. What's fraud is the way they didn't tell you that you had the right. Okay, so this is what it is. So where is your letter of approval? Right? So that even if you didn't understand that, all the money that you paid in, right? So this is where this is all coming from. So I did all this just to show you this is the law that this is all coming from, and I wanted to make sure I looked into the word instruments today because instruments is going to get us right to where I was showing you the UCC from earlier, how the UCC is giving you the search of your revocable trust. So what we do is we place that revocable trust as the secured party. And we also place our trustee there, which is I myself. I'm one of the trustees. I can place as many trustees as secured party as needed. We don't get in the practice of leaning ourselves or the corporation or the birth certificate, because technically you can't lien something you don't own. According to the law, the state of Florida owns the birth certificate, right? So I didn't create the birth certificate, so I can't lien it, right? So I'm not the owner of that property. So all these processes that teach this, we're seeing that there are holes in it because I tried to utilize this and I went straight forward. It didn't work out as I thought. Right now, I'm not saying that there is no lines of credit or access points. There are, but there is no way that I saw that I owned the birth certificate per se. I was just basically able to prove that I'm the age of majority. And by being the age of majority, this allowed me to become the holder, right? So let's get right to the key words, holder. I'm the holder of the certificate. All right, so I hope this helps. If there's any comments or questions so far, I'm going to get right into why all this makes sense and how I have to have a layer or a foundation in place before I'm able to get to the point of getting this line of credit. So any questions or thoughts so far based on the access point with the UCC, which they call the Uniform Commercial Code? Okay, so let's keep going. So now that you see the tax money line of credit is our main topic, right? It's the tax money, because once you get your taxes, what are you going to do with the money once you get the taxes or once you get the tax return, whatever that is, right? So let's go into this because this is where the 1099A, and I think that was part of our announcements. Let me go ahead and pull that up. So I continue discussion in real-time example of approved methods how to prove your income by the 1099A, the 1099B, 1099C, the 1099 INT, the 1099 OID, or any 1099 form. All right. So any 1099 we found, according to the Treasury, according to the IRS, is proving income. Right. So that is one way to prove income is actually having your 1099s filled out. Right. So once they're filled out, they are going to be approved once they are attached, which they say to a tax return. All right. So there is no way around not attaching the 1099s to the tax return. Hold on. Let's look into our YouTube comments. We just say we have some YouTube comments. But is this making any sense so far to anyone? I'm going to go right into the details of why and how this income is looking according to the tax returns. One second. I'm not able to see anything. There we go. All right. So, oh, somebody's asking that they couldn't get theirs on the county record. So the way it works, and I'll go into these details later about the county record. The county record is pretty much the clerk. All right. So you got to talk to your county clerk. And the first way that we know this is that you all should know the name of your clerks. First things first, what's the name of your county clerk? Now, once you all know the name of your county clerk, you go and talk to them and you want to get your revocable living trust instrument that we just talked about just a moment ago. And you want to place that instrument on the county record, right? So it needs to be on the recorder, county recorder side, just like they place y'all mortgage, same way they recorded your mortgage. So let's not make it where how can they record your mortgage on the county record, but y'all can't record your revocable living trust on the county record. So we want to make sure we understand and understand how you're supposed to do this so that you can make it where you're private by the revocable living trust making you private as a private American banker. All right. So I don't get into all that citizen and nationality or indigenous. I'm saying you are now a private banker. Because if you're a private bank, a banker, and a broker, you're instantly going to be dealing with the financial realm. All right, so this is the financial realm. Once you have this revocable trust, this is property and all things connected to it. So we'll get into that. So that makes sense for how this works with the county. So none of this can activate you all until you have been able to activate through your county, because this is where it's all started. How did you get the birth certificates? It started with your state. So I went into the state, and a lot of us are still dealing with the state right now because you got to take the power. You got to take the power back from the state. So that goes back to the state attorney and the attorney general office. So these are all offices you all are still having to visit. But let me get you to the highest office real quick, because the highest office are going to get you past all these hurdles, because we now have to prove um, where all this money's coming from, because we still got to prove where all this money coming from. So I'm proving to you all where you all say you have income. I want you to be able to see what the software is going to tell you. See, we're going to go to Free Tax USA. So this is one of the only softwares we like to use for free. So if you're starting off in this information and you want to understand how to do this for free, by all means, master this software here. So with this word, we go straight to the customer support. And I wanted you all to type in 10. And this is gonna shock and amaze a lot of us, because a lot of ways that we've been trying to do this has not been exactly the correct way. Now, there's two ways that this works. You fill out the 1099s by hand, which is fine. You can do a 1099A, 1099B, 1099C, fill it out by hand. It doesn't do anything when you all send it to the Treasury and you still don't attach it to the 1040. So you still have to attach your 1099s, which I'm going to talk about today, on your 1040. But I'm going to teach you today how to make this instantly done through the sole proprietor. So the sole proprietor is where you're going to get this line of credit at. And this is why we want you to use the 1099s as the line of credit for your sole proprietor. So type in 1099A. Remember, I'm on Free Tax USA. Once you go to your customer support, and let's see what they say. 1099A. All right, so look, they say we support free 1099 filing. So there we go. So all your 1099s are free. So you don't have to pay, but there is faster ways that you all can use this software too. Some of us may not be able to wait and we're like, hey, I want to get this done right now, get it out of my mind. Then this is where you can use this software. It's called tax1099.com. All right, so you can use this and this will get all your 1099s filed as well. But if you can just have them all added up, you got them all written down, you eventually will get to this point where you can just use Free Tax USA, and they're able to show you how you can do all of your 1099 filings right here. So right here, it says we support a variety of 1099 forms, which you can see right here, the 1099 INT, the DIV, the NEC, the R, and so on. And the following forms are supported on what? Free Tax USA, 1099A, 1099B, 1099C. So we got all the three 1099s that we just went over just now. All three of them, right? So you already have all three of these things covered. The A, the B, and the C. 1099 forms. Next, you're going to have the INT that y'all got from the bank. So most of y'all have the INTs. Then you have your 1099 OID. So 1099 OID is also a supported form, which is a 1099. And this is all on your Free Tax USA software. Now, once you have these 1099s, this is going to get you to the point where you're going to be able to create the total amount, which we've been talking about, should be always done on one form, because I'm taking my time to get to this point because it's going to speed us up really fast of how you can get this line of credit. Then we're going to get right to the good stuff, which is going to be into your secured line of credit. Now we went into what forms they support. We support the free 1099 filing. Now let's go to this. How do I report Form 1099A? Here we go. Question mark. How do I report Form 1099A? Guess what Free Tax USA says? Let's go ahead and read this. Here we go. So the only place you can report the 1099A, right? So this is after you have all your 1099As, right? You got them all approved, right? Whether you use the Free Tax USA software, or you use the tax1099.com software, or you did it for free by downloading it directly, which we'll go to that third option. So some of y'all can see that this can be free. You can do this today. So don't think that you got to have a whole bunch of money to do this, because the IRS has paid already for y'all to do these 1099 forms, 1099A. So go to irs.gov and you can download the 1099A, and then it tells you how you're the lender from the beginning. So it says file form 1099A for each borrower if you lend money in connection with your trade or business. Because remember, I just told you all that you are now a banker, and now I'm going to turn you into a broker because I got to walk with you. You can't instantly just be a broker. I know you're not instantly a broker because you haven't practiced being a broker. So this is now showing how you're now a broker, because you're now going to use these forms specifically this way through your trade or business. All right. So this is the sole proprietor side. Now that I have this form, I go to click on this form. Then y'all are supposed to fill this out for each one of y'all billers that y'all paid y'all bills for your own records. So every time I pay the bill, I fill out this form like it's a receipt. That's right. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to get the money back right now. This form doesn't pay the bill. This is your receipt so that you can begin to claim your income line of credit. It's all going to make sense in a few, because when you get ready to do this way, you're going to see how easy it is to create this secured um, line of credit, which we're going to talk about how it's all going to get to the part where your tax returns become your line of credit. So from this form right here, this should have the amounts that show exactly how much money you need, because it showed that you paid your bill and you put the amount that you paid to the biller. And right now we're talking about 2024. So we know y'all ain't doing 2025. So don't tell me that you're trying to pay the rent from 2024 in 2025. So this is January. So this is say that this is January 2024 from last year. You do that for each month: January, February, March, April, May, June, July. The lender, you're the lender now. All right, so now add all those things up. According to Free Tax USA, it tells you after you have added up all of your 1099As, and this is going to be the same for the B too, I'm finding out. They're telling you the menu path income. You go through income, then you go to business income, then you go to business income schedule C. There we go. So look at this. It goes right back to the schedule C. So telling you that the IRS is telling you that you all are supposed to put the numbers even after you get your 1099s added up. They're telling you to put it on your business income schedule C. So there's no such thing as a standalone 1099A that you put out there and it just works. So for all the people who've been trying these processes and methods, this is why the processes and the methods aren't going through as fast as we think they're supposed to go through. All right, next, what do you say? What information is contained on Form 1099-C? So this is where you know that the 1099-C is working, because we already explained you can't just send the 1099-C by itself, right? Let's say you do, the IRS pick it up. The IRS ain't gonna pick it up for like 6 to 8 months, maybe almost a year. That's if you just do the 1099-C by itself. But we're saying this is the missing factor, is that our 1099s have not been added, right? Like even right now, 2025, we got taxes ready to go. We're supposed to be adding all these things together, all of our income, right? So this is found on the uncommon income through cancel debt 1099-C. So when you use a software, you'll be able to go through this menu and you'll find out the 1099-C is actually on the software. So this bypasses the need of sending in documents to the IRS. You don't have to send it in if you use this software and it goes right on the 1040. Let's answer this question right here. Somebody asked, does the 1040V take place of the 1040? That's a great question. The 1040V. Now, the 1040V is a voucher whenever you owe the IRS. The IRS says you have a tax bill due or a past debt of taxes that were owed. So these are the only ways that you would need a 1040V, right? Any other way would mean that there is a process is that they're telling you to send the biller the 1040V and you sign it like it's a check and all these different processes. But we're saying we don't get into the mail, because at the end of the day, if I can do this electronically, it should go through the exact same way. So I would like to stick more with the electronic aspect of seeing how this should work. So the canceled debt or the payments of the debt usually would be, I would say, just through, which we say we got free tax USA, we got Tax Act. Tax Act is the way for the 1041, got the 1041V. The 1040V, they don't have a software that actually puts in the 1040V. So that's a great question. Let's see if there's a way that we can find out electronically how that'll work. But as of now, I don't think they have updated the system to let you all do the method of the 1040V where you send the bill in and all these things like that. I think that's the one that most people do. Now, I say it's a lot faster if you all just added up your numbers. And if it was the bill, I would just cancel all the debt. You just go through the 1099-C. And they're telling you on the software, this is real. This isn't something that most people do, but it does say it's an uncommon thing. It says Form 1099-C is used to report cancellation of debt. So that means all your debts, all your credit cards you didn't pay off, all your car loans, the repossessions, the rent, got evicted. I didn't pay my rent. I didn't pay my landlord. For whatever reason, it's called cancellation of debt, right? So that is income. See, that's the way the IRS sees it. They don't see it like we see it. Like we took it like a loss. We took it like a L, is what we say. It's not a L. You need to write down what you took a loss of, what you took a loss at. Right? So this is important for us as we begin to see how everything is going forward with us with the cancellation of debt. It says, however, many people qualify to not have to report the 1099-C amounts as income. Exclusions from reporting your 1099-C as income are available if the debts were canceled because of bankruptcy or insolvency. And that's what we focus on. We focus on insolvency because we know most of y'all debts outweigh your income. We know most of your debts outweigh your income. So we instantly see that you're insolvent because the mortgage is going to create you as being insolvent. So you can instantly cancel your mortgage if you see yourself as insolvent. Now, if you see yourself as in bankruptcy, that's a whole different perspective. We didn't say bankruptcy. We say that you should be more of the insolvency. Look, it goes further and says insolvency is when your debts, right here, that's not what I'm saying. This is what it's insolvency is when your debts exceeds your assets at the time the debt was canceled. That's right. So at the time that you couldn't pay the debt, it becomes canceled because you don't have the cash or the credit card or the debit card to pay. That's what that means in real life. So if you don't have cash in your hand, if you don't have a debit card, or if you don't have a credit card to make that payment, and it goes by multiple times, this is called a canceled debt. Right? The numbers don't go nowhere. Utility bills still gonna come. So we want to make sure we totally understand this financial literacy of this. Yes, the utility bill still gonna come, but you may not be able to pay it because you got to cancel that debt, and they may cut the utilities off too because they know that you probably ain't gonna pay that bill for the next 2, 3, whatever months, right? So that's what insolvency means. So they're not explaining this to y'all, but y'all thinking about bankruptcy all the time because they sell you all bankruptcy, like bankruptcy. That's all you always hear. You never hear about insolvency, right? So what's the problem with seeing this as a way of getting out of mortgage? So guess what? It says another exclusion another exclusion is qualified mortgage debt forgiveness. The Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007 allows individuals to exclude from income any discharges of qualified principal residence indebtedness. Wow. So right there, instantly, y'all could look at this as your mortgage instantly becomes part of your income. That's right, the total mortgage. That's right, the total mortgage is $500,000. Guess how much income you got now? $500,000. Now, that's what this says. That's what this means. This means that now they're not going to tax you on that 500,000 because they see it as income, any discharges of qualified principal residence indebtedness. Okay, so your mortgage, if y'all haven't been claiming y'all mortgage on your tax return, this is where you're supposed to been doing it. So it is a 1099-C, right? Because the mortgage could have got paid off in 90 days, which we know most people do not pay off the mortgage in 90 days because they have the mortgages that way for a reason. Now I'm going to show you, I'm just proving this because I was trying to make sure you all see where I'm getting this information from. And they asked, well, Brother Wallace, what type of walkthroughs are you doing? What are you doing during your walkthroughs? What am I getting out of this? How do I do this software? This is what you're supposed to do, right? So through this software, Free Tax USA, which is free, you all should be able to learn, be able to how to do this, right? So it says a 1099-C is used to report cancellation of debt income. However, you may not have to report the amounts as taxable income. There we go. Because it's no longer taxable income. Because you got to meet the certain exclusions, which we walk you through, make sure you write the right answers. Because we tell you if you are insolvent. We didn't say you bankrupt, say make sure you are insolvent. That's right. Yeah. And this goes into all layers, right? Even it goes into what if my student loan debt was canceled? That's right. That's right. Yeah. Even student loans can be canceled. So y'all are starting to see where all this information is coming from, but I'm going right into where the online market is showing you. And this site is approved directly through the United States, which is the Internal Revenue Service list of e-file sites. So I found this site through actually coming from, which they say, the IRS website. So through the IRS website, this led me to, which we talk about today, this site, which we went over, free tax, you would say. Okay, so let's go in any more examples of that. So I go through the examples as I'm showing you where it goes to the 1099. So I went over the 1099A, the B, the C, all of the 1099s. Why didn't go over the B? Because it's all the same. It's going to tell you that you're supposed to put all this information, and you can use this software. You can put all this information on what we talked about earlier on the Schedule C. Keep in mind, the IRS has everything freely available for you, but they haven't freely filled it out. They're not going to fill it out for you. They're going to want you to do all that part. So I'm just showing you what forms you're going to need in order to report all of your 1099s. Now they're not telling y'all about the 1099s on this form because it just seems too simple, but that's what it is. All your 1099s are supposed to be added up right here, part of your business. Well, not right there specifically, but let's say I'm gonna give you the exact line that I remember. I think is line 6. So that'll be all your other income. But these are just different methods of understanding how the 1099s work for you. It should be a way that you can see that your income is available to give to the bank, which I'm going to show in just a moment to show how you're supposed to build this secured line of credit and how this whole point of doing this with your tax returns is led for you to get your tax returns so that you can give it to the bank. Now let's go right into it. So let's go right to the secured business line of credit. How do you deal with the secured business line of credit? A secured business line of credit is a type of revolving financing that's backed by collateral. When you open a secured business line of credit, you pledge an asset that the lender can sell in the event your business fails to repay its debt as promised. Collateral reduces the lender's risk. So I went over a few examples as you all seen before, but today I gave you all the best ones today for 2025. And the best ones we have for 2025 right now for the business side. So we want you all to have the business secured lines of credit, right? Look at your business. So the best secured business credit cards, and we're being very specific when we say this because they give you the list. And I was able to do the homework for you all, but I want you all to be able to maneuver this with your trust EIN soon. I'll show you how your trust EIN can also create these secured business credit cards. So one of the first ones they had come up was the Bank of America, which I went over in our past previous examples of how once you create your sole proprietor Bank of America account, you're going to save yourself and you want to create the savings account. Once you have the savings account, that account will be turned into a unlimited reward secured credit card. All right. At your request, right? Once you request this, they're going to help you create this secured credit card. Next, you're going to go to another bank. They have Truist. Truist has their own cash secured credit. Remember, I was talking about cash credit. So we're going to get into why you need the cash secured credit because this is going to secure all your cash every time you go to the bank now. So Truist has an account. So if you have a sole proprietor bank account at Truist and you have a savings account at Truist, you want to put all that money and save yourself at Truist. And when you save yourself, you're going to turn that Truist savings account into a secured credit card. Next, you have, oh, we went over that one already. You got your Valley Bank Visa Secured Business Credit Card. Valley Bank Business, Valley Bank Visa Secured Business Credit Card. We got Hello Alice Small Business Secured MasterCard. Hello Alice Small Business Secured MasterCard. And that's it. And they're going to go right into personal credit cards for business, but we're not going to go into personal at this time. We want you all to specifically stick with the business card. We want your card to say business on it when you have the secured credit. So there's any questions on this. So I want to make sure this was able to get you started. There are not a lot of options out here. I did not find too many options of this where the trust can work, where the trust EIN can work specifically with these credit cards. But it is possible for you to build a cash credit with the trust as well. So I got a few questions. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can answer a few of those questions. Then I'll go into some of the announcements to go through a lot of the details of our announcements today. Now, somebody asked, the question, are the 1099s filed with your social security number or your EIN? Right. So when you're using that's a good question. So when we use Free Tax USA, this is 100% going to be through your social. So anytime you're using the social security number or the social security card, that's where I go right here on a list of documents that you need. So you're going to need that social security card. Once you have that social card, that information will be used right here on Free Tax USA. So the way we see it, we see your social card as access to a bank, right? So that is part of accessing your bank, which is your bank account. Then as a banker, since you're accessing the bank account, you're going to learn how to um, deposit and withdraw funds because you're the banker. And the broker is the one that's paying bills. So the bills, you all are already experts at paying bills. You're brokers. So this is why the tax returns are so important because we're not seeing the importance of the tax returns, which goes right into the 1099A, which I went over earlier. How when you do a whole bunch of 1099As, theoretically, you really just should do one for the whole year, right? So if I had a 1099A, and I'll give y'all a few, secrets and cookies today of how this looks because when I went over this earlier, I went over rent, right? You can go over rent. Um, that's rent for it says vehicle and it says other business property. So that means that can be a place where you're renting, with your lease agreement. So you may have a rental, paying rent at a house somewhere, but now you turn your house rent into a place of that whole lease is now an expense. Right. So this is an example of what this looks like if you have vehicles. So let's say like you're paying money on those vehicles. This looks like an expense on the vehicles. So we're saying the whole year. Get it from January to December and you pay it forward. And you use the 1099 to do this whole year. So as you pay cash on that, that cash is going to come back because that's going to be your line of credit. Now, that sounds like it makes no sense, but it is something that most of us have already done. And you all have the receipts that you all have paid all of 2024 off for rent. And this is why I say the revocable trust gives you all this mindset because once you have the revocable trust, you won't have no problem with writing off those utilities that you paid off the whole year. And I'm saying from January to December, right? Even if it's in your name, it's still revocable living trust because this is the social. And we went over how you're going to claim one in your social right here. So you put your social security number right here, and then you put your name here. So that makes you, you know, the proprietor. That's social. Let's say your social card. And then you put your name here again. And the software is just going to blot this out right here. It's not even going to put a number there. But this is the correct format, the way it looks. But then they're going to ask you your profession. And let's just say sales. Somebody does this blend sales management. All right. Now, this is just an example, for example only. Ah, the screen went off. But just for illustration purposes, for example, everything that we're talking about today is in your social. We're talking about everything that's in the social security number or the social security card. Okay, so we went over our continued discussion in real time of example approved. How are you going to prove this income? So I showed that today, how you're proving this income is going to be done with 1099s. So whatever your expenses are, I went over that first because I wanted to drill in your expenses. But now, since we're in the beginning of the year, we always talk about your income. So your potential income needs to be all the bills from now all the way to the end of the year. So if you have rent, I want you to get your lease agreement. And if it's a year lease agreement, I need you to do a 1099 on that lease agreement, right? This is how this works. You know, that's how this looks. So a 1099A or a 1099B or both. Some of us say, well, which one? We do both. Do the A and the B if you don't know. Okay, so that is the way that'll look if you're going to do that. So this income will substantiate and help create a secure line of credit as well as get approval for unsecured line of credit. So unsecured credit will be used as cash advance to create or increase more secured credit. So that is the whole point. So like, let's say you do get unsecured credit. Well, the reason you're going to get unsecured credit so that you can get more secured credit. So you're going to turn that unsecured credit. It doesn't matter if it's a loan. So let's say now you have the philosophy correct, or let's just say the truth, the facts, right? The truth and the facts are with the unsecured line of credit, I can now get cash advance to create or increase more secured credit. And this is where they get it and they call it cash credit. So your goal is to increase the cash credit. Does this make any sense to anybody? So let's say I have $10,000 unsecured credit card right now. How will I use that unsecured $10,000 credit card? How will I use that? Anybody have an example of how you can use this $10,000 unsecured credit card? All right, nobody? Not at the moment.
Paying bills.
Okay, somebody says pay bills. Well, remember, you're gonna try to take this cash off of the credit card. How do you get the cash off of this unsecured credit card? That's what I should ask. How can you get cash off of the unsecured credit card? Anyone know how to do that?
One, you can transfer money to credits from the unsecured to the secured account. That's one way of doing it.
Right, but can you get cash? Is the question from the unsecured.
You go to the ATM.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. So can you get cash? Is the question from that unsecured credit card. It makes sense, right? Anybody know? I mean, is that a yes or a no? Does anybody know? Has everybody ever done that? You got a credit card in the mail. You didn't have no money, but now you have money. How do you get the cash off of that credit card? What do you do? Somebody said go to the ATM. Is that the best way?
That's the easiest way.
Okay. Now let's walk with me. Y'all have cash in your hand. You got the cash. It came off the credit card. What now is best to do now that I have this revocable trust with the cash? Oh, we got some answers in here. Okay, that's a good one. What is best now to do with this cash I just got off that unsecured credit card?
Deposit it into the secured. account to, I guess, try to raise your limit on the secured account, credit account.
Well, you got to have the secured account created first, so you technically will have to pay it. It'll be as if you're paying your loan or paying your credit card, right? So
Mm-hmm.
are you saying that you will have the secured credit card open first to pay that?
Yes, you could. That's a good way to pay it.
Right, right. So I'm just picking the brain. Somebody put in the chat. Somebody said money order. That's a great one. I mean, anybody else agree? You get the cash off the credit card and you put in a money order. Is that a good idea?
Yes, that is.
All right. Is anybody forgetting about cash advance? What about, okay, do they charge an extra fee for cash advance? Now there
They
may be,
do.
okay, yeah. So can you go into that? What fee do you think that'll charge? Let's say if it's, how much would they charge if I did that? Say I got $10,000. What type of fee would they try to charge? Go back in there, Noah.
Mm. The
A lot
advance
of
fee,
times they charge
they-
$250.
So they'll charge about 250 out of the 10,000, right?
yeah, they do it as a percentage of whatever you advance. So two
Got you.
percent, 2%, you know.
There we go. So the key point is based on what you're doing is you're turning the cash that came from the credit card into a secured credit, right?
Mhm.
So how does this make sense to everybody? So what how does this look from what we see on the business side? Because remember, there's another step you all are missing. We're missing the step that talks about the savings account. What about your savings? You got to put your cash in your sole savings. What about your sole proprietor account? So we got to
Correct.
put, yeah, go ahead. What you said?
I said correct. So you're saying it's a business transaction, so we should deposit it within our business account, but put it in the savings account. Is that right?
Yeah, you're gonna put it as a business transaction, right? Because you are now moving the unsecured cash into a business account, right? Which would be what?
Mhm.
The bank.
Just
Remember earlier you're a bank. You're a banker and now you're a broker because you're about to pay what with that cash?
your
Bills.
business or
Well, you're
bills.
gonna be paying bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the money inside the business bank account. You got the money in the secured credit account. Now you're using this secured credit card to pay bills. Does this make sense, y'all? I just want to make sure we're walking. Does this walk make sense with the cash? Like you're using the same cash that you all are already paying. You're already paying bills with it, right?
Correct. And at the same time, you're saying we're building credit, building lines of credit by doing that. Is that right?
That is correct.
I did it before, rotating. I rotate money to build a line of credit up by depositing cash.
Right. But let's say we did this on the secured credit card side, and it's the business secured credit card side.
Mhm. Correct. That's how you increase your line of credit through business. I
But
see what
that's
you're
the thing.
saying.
They all taught us to do the personal and the unsecured personal side. They
Mhm.
always give us the big loans, the big mortgages, huge amounts, right?
Correct.
So I hope this helped with us picking our brain. Go ahead. If anybody else had any thoughts to this, how this looks,
I'm
right?
just this. So I'm when you put your cash into that business savings to pay your bills, the bill to pay another bill to pay is pay that card back, right? From that same account. Use that same account to pay the money that you took off that card from that business checking account and pay that card back. It's so like the young man just said, rotate Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Think
makes
about
a
it. You're
lot of sense.
rotating. You're making the rotation of the funding to pay
Ye-
the bills because you're paying
Yes.
the bank. See, I got to pay my bank first,
Wow.
so I
Yeah.
pay myself, right? This is why I was telling y'all to pay yourself first.
Yeah. So at the end of the month, your deposits will look more if you do it that way. So they'll base that as that's your line of credit. So let's say if you rotate $10,000 10 times within that month, then that's $100,000 line of
Correct.
credit.
That's correct. Because you're rotating the same cash through the same account, but you're paying it back. And they're seeing you're paying it back, right? That's what y'all have been doing the whole time when you pay your lease, when you pay your rent. How many times have you paid that rent? I know I'm talking to somebody. All year. You paid rent on time every month. Now the landlord don't owe you money. It's your bank. That's what I was telling you. The money is coming from your bank. It's not going to come from these corporations and these companies. It's not going to come from the police department. All right, for all of us are still trying to get money out of the government. They don't have no money. It's the bank. You know, even the county government has a bank. Everybody got a bank. When you start thinking about it, every single organization in America, they all got a bank. Everybody. So the money's coming from y'all bank. And it's the sole proprietor. So you're the broker because you're now the sole proprietor. You're the business. And now you're paying bills. You're the lender. You know, the lender can't be the borrower at the same time. Then you got the secured party with your revocable living trust.
So
Because
that's what you're saying. So when we do, excuse me, I'm sorry to cut you off. Um, so when we're doing kind of to break this down a little bit. So when you're doing your Schedule C, you have to put on the Schedule C your total amount of deposits into your account. Is that what you're getting to?
that's right. That's your 1099-A.
Okay, so if you do it for the whole year and you deposit, if your deposits are $10,000 that month and you do it for the whole year, that's $120,000 of deposits. Correct?
Well, it's
That's your
all the cash you deposited.
yeah, that's your line of credit. Okay, I see what you're
There
saying.
you go. So that's why I say do your cash for the whole year. How much cash? That's why we always do our annual salary, trustee
Got,
salary. How much is it for the whole year?
got you. Got you. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, we want you all not to be behind. We don't want you to do it month by month, right? We want it to be a year ahead. You know, for January now, we all need to be filing January to December 2025 right now. The whole year. You know, you get all the rent. Let's say my rent is the same number. I already know how much I'm gonna pay. I need to do that number times 12. Then I go get the line of credit from the bank, right? Then the bank gives me this unsecured line of credit. Then I pay off the rent and the rent is paid. Look at this. This is an endless loop. Once you got revocable living trust. Don't include the money you get back from the treasury. This is just regular cash. We're just talking about the W-2 cash that y'all had already paid out. W-2s, 1099s. This all makes sense. Anybody else have any thoughts to this? Because it's the same cash. These are your receipts. Let's get into the receipts. All your receipts. And that goes right to the money. They got that listed here in the UCC 9-312, right? Even if it's cash dealings. You get all this money back in a line of credit. I hope this is talking, just generally talking and showing this through UCC 9-312 so that we can now see why the UCC comes into the private banking world. You're not going back into the public on a side of thinking that you're doing it for getting all this credit from them and how they have this great credit. No, it's your credit. You have the great credit. Your credibility. Your credibility is immaculate. You've paid your bills all year. I filed my tax returns. I have a trust, right? So what type of credit do I need to get from any other debtor? This gets us a new mind. We start thinking differently as we begin to jump back into the world we go into the world of banking. I like to say it's the world of banking. And UCC is required. This is, if you have no idea, and this is your first time hearing of this, apologies. I'm sorry to tell you. The government is running it right now. And they expect you to know exactly what to do. Because they sure are filing their UCCs. If you go and look and you all want to start searching and looking up, their accountants and their financial officers and their fiduciaries are filing their UCCs timely. So
Yeah.
this is new entrance. Go ahead, go ahead. I just want to make sure we all, it's a new entrance to us if we're seeing like, what am I doing with this trust? Where am I going with it? How am I getting this way? And so on.
Exactly. Isn't there a scripture? I don't mean to cut you off. Isn't there a scripture to say that he want us to be the lender and not the borrower? He'll bless us to be the lender and not the borrower.
Yes,
Is that
absolutely. Yes,
okay?
absolutely. That
Okay.
is amazing. That's a biblical principle. I'm glad someone
Mm-hmm.
said that. So I want to go to that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely correct. So it says the lender, not the borrower.
Mm-hmm. I remember reading that.
Yep, it's in Deuteronomy chapter 28,
28. That's right. That's right.
verses 12 through 13, right there. So once you are with the Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
talked about who the Lord is in our past studies and our biblical principles,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and the Lord will open to you his good treasure,
Mm-hmm.
the heavens to give the rain to your land in its seasons, and to bless all the work of your hand. I see it. Look, all the work of your hand. So that means
Mm-hmm.
all the money. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Even the biblical principles are saying all the work of your hand, all the work of your W-2,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
everything that you put your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
See, they're using this in court, y'all. Y'all thinking it's all about, it's not about church. It's a little bit more than church right here.
That's right.
You know, you're going to be blessed, all the work of your hand, and you shall lend to many
Mm-hmm.
nations. Why is the IRS using this word?
Mm-hmm.
Why you shall lend
Mm-hmm.
to many. See, we like to break it down like this in our biblical principle studies.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the banking, money and banking side.
Mm.
It says, but you should not borrow right here. So we found it exactly what you said, but you should not borrow.
Right.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, absolutely. So this goes right into how we are able to be one with the Lord. You know, so the Lord will open to you.
Yep.
You know, this is where this is all coming from. So when people say, where's the money coming from? Where's this coming from? It's coming from the Lord, you know, and it's a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because all this funds, all the cash, all the money, all the things that we have claimed is a profit. Right here. So the sole proprietorship is where all the funds and all the things are being claimed on. So when someone says my line of credit, when a bank is looking at this information, they're going to look at how much money, how much credit that you all have put for your income. So that's the lender right here. This is the lender. All right, so I hope this helps with looking at these parts and how to get the secured credit. This can go into so many layers. It is deep. I can say that for sure because I've been on this journey for a while, and it does go to the mental, the spiritual, and the physical
Mm-hmm.
for us to see how this works with our life. Like everyone's life is right here on these 2 pages, right? I mean, part one and part two. This is all of our life right here. I can talk about everybody right here on these 2 pages. I mean, 2 parts right here.
Mm-hmm.
So someone has W-2. It says statutory employee. That's what that means, W-2.
Mm-hmm.
Form W-2 and the statutory employee. Sometimes the box is not checked. If you can have a W-2, but it's not a statutory employee unless the box is checked. So they give you the option to be statutory employee right here. And I think they give you a whole nother form. So you don't even fill out the W-2 right here on this right here. They give you another form and you're supposed to claim the W-2 information on this. So this is where we tell people to make sure you put your W-2s on your sole proprietor. So it becomes an expense. And I think it's found over here somewhere, but it says the wages. And it goes right back to the biblical principle, the wages of the SSN, the wages of the
Mm-hmm.
Social Security card,
Mm-hmm.
the wages of the SSN. So 26 right here. Line 26, the wages right here. They're supposed to be an expense to you all. All that credit's supposed to come back that you had that went out on the W-2. It gets right back into that line of credit. So all the credit. Right here, it says less employment what? Let's zoom in for our viewers. Credits. Wages. These are the wages. So this is why the conversion is important with the revocable living trust. Because without the revocable living trust instrument, we won't feel that we can claim those credits. Interesting. So then we get into how everything works with our travel and our meals. We out here eating and we got to travel out here on the road. We got to stop at rest areas or we got stops and we got to get some food right here. Travel and meals. All the receipts. So we just keep all this stuff added up. It's an expense. You know, so these are all layers of why the revocable trust instantly gives you this ability. Once you have this instrument, you're able to write off everything that you have in your social, as well as things that you place in the EIN. Okay, so it's very important that we see the social as power. You know, the power is coming from the social as well, the social security card. Because if you don't use a social card, they're going to use it. And we figured this
Great.
out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these people are the fiduciary. They're going to play fiduciary over that social security card account. Now let's go into some hard issues. Let's say we go into something where someone had to face the biller. It's very hard to get this information out to them, and they don't care about any of this, right? So let's go into some examples of how you're still able to go through some type of writs or some sort like that, or affidavit of fact. So I've been able to help develop some writs to help go through some things that maybe give people confidence. Maybe you can write up something that will help put out a lot of this information that helps give validity to what you're doing. Right. Then they'll give them this 10-day response or by faxing it or facsimile, electronic, whatever way, and this will work. Right. So let's go back. This would be a tested example that I actually had done. And it was very scary. I mean, I've never had dealt with the IRS agent before at this point. but this is what I was able to use at these times. And over time, I realized that these things work, which we call affidavits of fact. Now, the reason why I use this right here, and I use this lingo a little bit, is because more of the administrative maritime claims rule C6, and you go into Article 1. The reason I use Article 1 is because it goes straight into the tax court or the tax law, which we'll get into how Article 1 courts are the only courts that you all want to do your revocable trust proceedings through. Next, you have your FRCP, your Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, or Rule 9. You all can look into that if you have time. It's very important to start looking into your power of attorney jurisprudence information so that you can begin to start layering yourself on the correct side, even when you're dealing with certain courts. Right? So the courts are supposed to be in your favor once you have the revocable trust as well. Next, you also have from, as you can see at the top, I have from, the name of the revocable trust. Then I can put the employer identification number here. Then I'll put my location or my office. This is to the Internal Revenue Service, one of our highest layers. Say if you owe a tax bill, let's say you owe money, this will be your way of communication. So we see if you can communicate to the IRS or to the communicate to the Internal Revenue Service, you should be able to communicate with any of your other parties, including your mortgage company. So these are all different examples of how you communicate with different corporations or different parties that you have bills with. As you can see, I went through the information here, put the information there. Go ahead. Somebody had a thought? Okay. So as you see, I put the information in there. You put their mailing address and then get into the affidavit. So this is some of the things that I've done that works where you communicate exactly what you're doing and how it works with the program, right? So I titled this Acceptance for Value and Honor, right? So I'm not trying to start a problem. I just want to get everything accepted for value and I want to stay in honor. So the first I put is I'm the fiduciary or trustee for the account name, a noble private lender. So they should know that, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to make sure they know. So I'm going to just make them aware of all the different things that they should know. Number 2, I'm aware of the United States obligation of all debts, public and private, according to 18 USC 8. 3, I'm aware you are an agency/agent or instrumentality of the United States Corporation, as defined in 28 USC 3002 15 A, B, C. Right, so I'm using the codes that they have in play. So every time I say something, I'm making sure I'm putting a code behind what they say is the code. 4, I am aware that all debts are prepaid as defined in 31 USC 5118 D2 through the United States Department of Treasury, International Monetary Fund, and Internal Revenue Service. So here we go. So we're hitting the international. Remember, we had some calls in the past. We said that how your trust takes you on an international level. This is where you're starting to see the power of how instantly you're on the international foreign side as well. So the IMF is also able to understand the revocable trust. You are listed as the debtor as defined in Uniform Commercial Code 9-307. There we go. So I actually found that if at any point I get a debt or bill from any one that is an instrumentality or agent of United States Corporation as defined in this code, I am able to list them as a debtor according to UCC Uniform Commercial Code 9-307. The United States is the debtor and all agents, officers, and employees are located in what? Washington, D.C. Number 5. All bills for the year 2019 to 2020 are accepted for value and honor for the annual or total payoff amount. I assign you to credit and offset this account. That's a good one, right? So this way we let them do the crediting and I don't have to worry in format of the funds. So all future bills will show zero balance due in cash, checks, money orders, EFT, ACH, or bank issued notes through the Federal Reserve banking system. There we go, because we don't want to have to use which they call the Federal Reserve banking system. Because at that point, if we have to use the Federal Reserve banking system, this will require you to have all the listed that we just said. Any illegal claim for this form of payment will constitute a violation of Title 15 of the United States Code. All right, so that's all of the Title 15. You all can look into that. This will violate how the whole system works because Title 15 explains how the system works. As prescribed through law, I am the creditor as given through 18 United States Code 914. So this proves that I'm the creditor because of the Social Security card. This makes me the creditor according to that code. You as an agent, officer, agency, or instrumentality are the debtor as prescribed in 18 United States Code 912. So it actually says this in that code. So when you look through that code, it tells you who is the debtor or instrumentality as well. I bind and hold you if you are not the creditor and are the debtor to settle and close this account as paid, balanced, and exempt from any liens or levy. Mm, that's it. They're at that point, they are having to settle and close this account at that point. Number 7, all payment coupons will be mailed to your office as a 100% value coupon that is accepted for the value indicated. So that goes into the acceptance for value part that we say we mail in the coupon. So you'll be mailing this coupon in with your payment, which we'll show you in just a few. Number 8, the required IRS form 1099-B is reported to cover the process of this transaction. For the funds that you have or will collect, to be sure they are reported correctly and properly to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, United States Treasury, and Internal Revenue Service. Without the interference of third-party banks that are not of third-party banks that are not federal, such as the Federal Reserve Bank or Federal Reserve banking system. 9, the 1099-B is required so the IRS accounting department can properly account for the transfer funds / credits account to account. 1099-B is required to report all approved secured cash credit paid transfer to the account. 10, 1099-A is for an acquisition, which means for the lender, the buyer, the purchaser, the acquirer, and the borrower, seller, supplier, provider. 1099-B is for barter and exchange of cash credit paid. 11, I petition and motion all current court cases to be closed with prejudice. Wow. So that in itself is going through an example of an affidavit that you want to certify or send. I did this through fax, so this worked out through fax. In some formats, you can see how you want to be able to communicate. And this is my example of a communication I had done back in the day from 20, as you can see, this was back in 2020, 2019, 2021, things of that sort. So if you get into situations of making sure that your trust, that you want to see that this information goes through with the 1099s, and you want to make sure that things do help you with your secured credit. Let me go to this part with the secured credit again. That your secured credit is shown through your tax return. And that's where I got to the secured credit part where I have a card. So I'm able to put all the cash that I make through this line of credit. And through this line of credit, this allows me to continually pay my bills through just a credit card. And this is a line of credit that I was able to create through the cash that I was already paying for my car or for my gas or for my groceries or for whatever it is that we actually pay out every day or every week. I hope this is helping anyone. We're all just here just reasoning on. Remember, this is introduction just to the banking, right? We
Mhm.
haven't even started fully brokering yet. Brokering right now, we're just paying, as we say right now, we're learning how to pay pretty much our business. We have to pay our bank. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what I've been trying to do for myself for the last 4 to 5 years is build this line of credit. And just imagine if someone had, let's say you have $100,000. Now instantly this $100,000 on a line of credit instantly needs to be looked upon as secured line of credit. That's the way it looks. So I guess if it goes from the line of credit from a personal side, it'll probably be lower. I think the most they do for personal side is 25,000. They may have high level $50,000 personal sides, but not too many. Most of the time it's a business credit card that has a cash advance that allows you to turn that cash into secured credit. So anybody have any other examples of things like that? Have you been able to face this situation where they say you got approved for a loan or approved for a credit card? Once you have the cash, this is just a test. What are you going to do now? How do you secure that cash that you just got?
You get the cash and deposit it into your business savings account to pay all your bills.
That is correct. Thank you. That is correct. Now, if you do that, you have first.
No, thank you. Thank you.
No, no, it's great. It's great. I just want to make sure y'all get the right answer. Because when you gotta ask this question, then when you get this answer, you'll understand. You have now paid your bank, and not only that, you've paid yourself, right? And then now that move can now save yourself because you can move it to your savings. And then from there, you can create your secured credit. That's the best way to see this whole introduction to a banker. Like if you're going to deal with banks, you all have to have banks that have a secured credit. They have it at Navy Federal too, but they have the personal. So you got to get the business credit card, secured credit at Navy Federal. Just for those who have Navy Federal. So get your sole proprietor. It's online. I think the brother gave out some information a few weeks ago, a week ago, saying that if you have these banks, y'all already may be able to just create that sole proprietor account online. Then you can open a savings account up right then and there. It's the faster that y'all use y'all funds this way, because if you use your funds to pay your bills and to pay yourself, I'm sorry, to pay yourself so that you can pay your bills, then the funds that you pay out will come back to you because it's now secured funds. It's a secured credit. It's built by collateral, right? Everything is built by collateral. It's not built by anything other than what you put in. So whatever you put in is what you get out. So I hope this helped. This is how you turn your W-2s into cash money. And once you get your W-2s, you want to learn how to build this line of credit through this income that you all are supposed to create once you do this 1099A as well as the 1099B. The 1099A and the B, I think the OID also gives you a income. Once you master those, this is going to show up as an income. All the 1099s show up as income. We also went over a good one today. If you all have loans or something that you didn't pay off or a mortgage. Mortgages are usually 1099C if you're looking to cancel your mortgage because of the debt relief. So we talked about that a little bit. insolvency report. Place your mortgage on your tax return every year. That way you can add more income to your tax return. So we went over a lot of jewels today, but these are the key points of where we're trying to get to. So when people are seeing, hey, what am I using? I'm using my revocable trust. The way I'm giving my example, the way I'm using my revocable trust is, let me see, I'm gonna go to this one. The way I use it is simply to make sure my banking is updated and activated. So every time they go to these official records, I got to make sure that I'm found. So I got to make sure I'm found. If I'm found, wait, is that the right one? Was it 1-6? Oh, it's 5-3-4-2. So I don't even have it. 5-3-4-2. So I got to be able to be found on the county record. And also show today, you also need to have a filing number for your UCC. So you can have your financial instruments updated in the system. This is going to make you confident and secure, because if you feel secure, look at this. See, it shows I'm the grantor right there. So we just realized that recently. We didn't know that it actually says grantor right there. So once it's on the county record, this is what it means. It means you are the grantor. And it should be found. So once these things are found, this is easier for us to maneuver through this information. And then from us maneuvering through this information, this will get us to feel more confident on how we're going to be able to use our revocable trust in the financial world, this is the private side for now, but I placed it on the county record so I can remain private, and from there they see that I'm only going to be operating through this trust instrument. Once I get through this trust instrument, this is going to get me to my financial side, which I just explained here. It's the same information that's on the trust, and now it's on the UCC, or it's to say the Uniform Commercial Code, right? So I got another question. It says, so everything the trust creates a bill for the estate, you add the debtor to the UCC. Yeah, every time there's a bill, so let's say that I have a bill that's in my name, or there's a bill in the trust name, right? And they're the secured parties. And I want to do the whole year. Yes, I would just upload the bill and add them as debtors. All right, so I would just basically use the instrument because and I'll get into next week. It's okay. It's all right. I'll get into next week how this will be a bill of exchange, right? And how the 1099-B actually creates the bills of exchange. Right. So that is a good question that you all asked about. Somebody asked about, Sister Shani asked about the adding the debtors, right? Because you have to be the one that forgives the debts as you forgive your debtors. So this is the part right here. And I know it sounds so biblical, but these are the biblical principles. This is what it says here, right? So here we understand that the debtors, right? The debtor is according to what we just read. Let me read the law, right? Because maybe if I see the law on the screen at the same time and I say this will make more sense. So let's go back to what I read. As you see, I went through a whole bunch of codes, and all those codes basically went through a whole bunch of things at one time. I think it said that the debtor was 28, or UCC. I can't remember exactly which one it says. The debtor is, okay, it says United States Code 912. United States Code 912. So let's go to that real quick for us to see how this looks from the secured party side. United States Code 18, United States Code 912. Okay, there we go. So it's actually against the law to assume yourself as a federal employee or being an officer of the United States. So that means if you all are remaining or calling yourself an agent of the United States, so being part of the United, the law says you can't do that unless you are actually sworn in and you actually are working for the government. So none of you all can just remain. It'll be assumed as being this, right? Because this is how they're charging you. It's another way they secretly charge you if you try to pretend or do things of some sort. So it says, whoever falsely assumes or pretends to be an officer or employee acting under the authority of the United States or any department, agency, or officer thereof, and acts as such or in such pretended character, there we go, fictitious character, demands or obtains any money, paper, document, or thing of value, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both. That means that even you can't even say that you are starting off as a federal office or anything. Right? We are all not able to be this because they are the ones that's put into office to be this specific office right here. Now, what we play the secure party. We're not the debtor. So this is the person that's playing the debtor. Everyone that's in this office is the debtor. We can't even try to be the debtor even if we want to. So that's what this code is looking into, is how we're not able to pretend to be the debtor. Another code we had is 28 United States Code 3002. Let's read that today too. So that way we went over some of our 28 US Code 3002. And it's ABC, I think it's ABC. All right, so that's going to be A. Oh, look, they even go into debt. They tell you what debt is. Interesting. And they go into debtor. So let's go all the way down to A, B, C. Here we go. So as you can see, this would be the law that you see in court. So if I was in federal court, I would use 28 United States Code 3002 definitions, and I would present to the court as such. To the honorable court, I will say that according to the definitions found in 15, United States means A, a federal corporation, B, an agency, a department. So that means a department of anything that you have in your state. So the Department of whatever is the United States, if you did not know. So Department or the Secretary of State, a department of this, department of that. Commission, or the board. These are all instrumentalities. The board of this or other entity of the United States. Or C, an instrumentality of the United States. So instrumentalities can be at some points municipalities can be part of the United States as well. So I just wanted to show you all this is where this is coming from for that definition right here. You do see that the United States is an instrumentality or agency, and that allows you to see that they are the one that plays the debtor. Now let's go to the part that says they are the debtor specifically. That's Uniform Commercial Code 9-307. That'll be our last one for today. UCC 9-307. All right, so it's another thing that's saying location of the debtor. This is just information that we should be able to find easily on the internet. So write these codes down, because you all will have to learn these codes so that you can be feeling confident when you have your revocable trust. so that you can learn how to forgive the debtors because they are debtors. And it's interesting when you say forgive because that means pay. According to banking law, forgive means to pay, to give money, to lend, to forgive. So you begin to lend to the debtors because that's what you technically are already doing. We're just not claiming our credits back because that's what they are. They're the debtor. Here we go. So look, it says right here, the location of the United States right here, H, is the United States is located in District of Columbia right here. So this is the location of the debtor. Like everything that's written under this code tells you the location of the debtor, just for you all just to see this. Right. So 9-307 tells you the location of the debtor, and everybody that's under this subsection is such. And it also goes even far as foreign banks. So let's say even if they're not here in the United States, if they are a foreign bank branch, specifically a bank or agency, if licensed, right? A branch or agency of a bank. Look at it, they go right into cash proceeds of a bank that is not organized under the law of the United States, or a state is located in the state in which the branch or agency is licensed. If all branches and agencies of the banks are licensed in only one state, there we go. So all of your licensed FDIC insured banks, all of your banks that have the investment securities, these are all licensed banks that are all instrumentalities of the United States. Schwab accounts, right? This Charles Schwab. They're all instrumentalities. They're of the foreign banks, but they're still of the United States, or they're of debtor. So this is why the law has to be universal when we say the law is universal, because we're saying that you're hitting all international law as well, because you're hitting the law based on that situation. Now, this is important to see that the banking is important for our minds to see why the debtor is important for us to get past where the debts are coming from, because we are creating the debts and we're also having to forgive the debtors because the debts are not bad if we know how to get rid of them. So that is it for our location of the debtor, and how we are able to create this line of credit is, once again, it's going to go right back to a review, right to the IRS. We want to go back to this where the IRS gives us the remedy where you put all of the 1099s on the Schedule C. So I'm not saying this, but this is what the software says, is that all of the 1099s at the end of the day are going on the Schedule C. Here we go, right here. It says, how do I report Form 1099A? So we're going to go through this again to show that you can't stand alone. So if anybody's teaching you this, you can't just send a standalone 1099 and expect it to just work by itself. There has to be something that you do to report the 1099, according to the instructions that we have directly from the IRS and directly from the Treasury. Now, there is other software like the IRS software, which you can use for your business filing, which is very important for us to see that's true. That's when you get more advanced, you start dealing with filing that directly with your 1099s. But for just your first time, if you're a beginner, if you're starting out, we always encourage people to use Free Tax USA. And this is your best answer to get a lot of the answers to some of these mysterious forms that you all have been seeing online. So you may have seen forms that says, or videos that say how to file a 1099A, or what is a 1099A, things like that, and the Treasury and things of that sort. Then you got your 1099C, how to cancel your debt, cancellation of debt. So look, these people are talking about it. I would think they know more how this can go through online through a e-file method rather than us doing it through the mail-in method, right? Mail-in methods do work, don't get me wrong, but the e-file method works also. It says, how do I report a Form 1099A? It says business income Schedule C. Bingo. So this is where we got the answer today, where we all have seen it with our eyes, that all that money, all those 1099s, you add them all up and you place it on the Schedule C. And you want to place it on the income section as it tells you of the Schedule C. And that's it. That's where your answer is coming from for the 1099-A, right? So that concludes everything for the line of credit, because you got to lend this line of credit to yourself. And as we see today, you still have to lend all this funds to your sole proprietor. And by lending this funds out to your sole proprietor, this will activate yourself through the revocable trust, because the revocable trust activates the sole proprietor. And then from there, you open up the account, which will allow you to save your sole proprietor as well with your savings account. And the savings account will be open as a secured line of credit, which is a secured credit card. So this is where this is all coming from, you all. So this is where they say that they're getting the money back, right? They're selling you all the irrevocable trust. Open up an irrevocable trust. Get all the money back. File a 1099-B. All these things are going to sell you all these things, but they're never going to tell you where they're putting the 1099-B, right? Because the 1099-B is a standalone document, right? The OID. They'll sell you the OID. You know, close the case, get this done, get all the money back on the case, the OID. So we have all the understanding of the methods, but we want to make sure we see where you all can see this is going. And you technically can't get cash back on these things, because all we know is that even if you get the cash back value, you're just paying it back on a line of credit anyway. So the cash is temporary. So they're using the cash as just a good way of showing you all the physical cash they got in their hand, but it still goes right back on a line of credit somewhere, right? So this is not trying to get us to say that you're going to have all this cash and all this money, and, you know, we just got it sitting there. So they don't allow us to just get $1 million and just sits on the bank account. So if anybody here has ever been told that, it's technically not true. You're not able to just have money and cash just sitting there, and there is no charge, or the bank isn't whatever, right? So this is the 1099-A method, of where it shows that today we've seen through the IRS method of how they showed us through the software of where your numbers are coming from and how they report this. And this was very important for us to see how this looks, where we see adding up all these numbers, and you see where this number will go to a high number. Let's say if it's a $500,000 and things of that sort, it will have to show where the $500,000 is going to go, right? So this is where we get into the part where even if I did get $500,000 check from the Treasury would already have known that the $500,000 check immediately was going to be paid out to whatever party that is that sent a bill, right? So we do know that there's no way to just get cash just sitting there, because they just simply call it taxable income, right? So from there, that goes into the bartering and exchange, which we're not going to go in today, because as you can see, the 1040 side doesn't really go into the B. This is why we go through the trust side, they go to the 1099-B. So that's another thing that they don't sell you all, is that you got to make sure you do the 1099-B on the trust side. Do the 1099-B for the trust. The A is going to lend you the credit. I hope this helps with this part. And C, I won't go into too much more, and then I'll close us out for the day. We're at 7:58. And I hope I was able to answer a lot of questions. If you all need to get on universitytechnicians.com, feel free to go to that website and chat with us, and we'll be able to talk to you at that point. But I'll go through this last part with the mortgage, and this will close us out for today. The mortgage, you all are not listing your mortgage on your taxes every year. So this actually is an uncommon thing, but by you not listing your mortgage, this is basically causing you to not have a good income to debt ratio, because your house should be listed as an asset. Once you have listed this and you're insolvent, it doesn't mean that your house is worthless. It just means that you just don't have the cash to pay this mortgage company or this servicer, whoever that is, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that since you are insolvent, they're telling you to figure out, you know, to choose the best option for you, which we've already gave you all some of these answers if you have this. And this will get you to see how the 1099-C works for cancellation of certain debts. This also works with student loans too, in all different respects. So it has different ways of understanding this form, but this is an electronic method and it is an uncommon thing. But you do see that they actually talk about canceled debt and it does say 1099-C. So I hope this helps with the 1099-C where we can see the mortgage information. They tell you the mortgage information here. I didn't come up with that. It says another exclusion is qualified mortgage debt forgiveness right here. So the mortgage debt forgiveness is something that is qualified according to what the canceled debt 1099-C is. And they said that this was going on since 2007. So a lot of people didn't know. Since we don't know, and it says we will perish. I think there's a biblical principle that says people perish or destroy for not knowing or lack of knowing. So for our lack of knowing, for whatever reason, we now know. We want to be able to set our business or our household as a principal business because you are now a homeowner, a business, or a real estate owner. And that jumps right into our real estate course as well, which we'll talk about this year more, getting into real estate and how to manage that. But I'll close out with this last part. It says qualified principal residence indebtedness is a mortgage you took out to buy, build, or substantially improve your principal residence. That's correct. So that means you did this for the benefit or the best interest of the revocable living trust. All right. So mortgages aren't bad. We just want you all to transform or convert your mortgages into the trust. So I hope this helps, and I hope that closes us out to the parts of seeing how we can begin to use our cash, our money, and begin to build our lines of credit and go on and continue to do these things week after week. But thank you. I did go over my time. I hope I was able to give people time to ask questions or get thoughts out. And we're going to close out if there's no more questions or no more thoughts or shares. All right. You all have a great week. Thank you for your